Okay, everybody, welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
And I'm David Woldingen.
and it is time for us to talk about Mizzou and Drake in the NCAA tournament first round from Wichita, Kansas. Before we do, need you guys to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and check us out on Spotify. Do us that favor. We are that close to 10,000 subscribers, followers across all platforms. We need your help to get there. All right. David, we did the video yesterday, a couple days ago, whatever it was, about the initial reaction, just initial thoughts on this matchup, and everything came up Mizzou, except potentially the matchup with Drake based on style play and so forth. Have your thoughts changed really at all?
No, not really. This is a team Mizzou should beat, in my opinion, pretty handily. They'll out athlete them for sure. They have the height advantage, and they have that toughness from playing the meat grinder we call the SEC. So I think they're going to come out ready to go, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's one wild card. May as well just get this one out. With the NCAA tournament, a lot of times the old adage is that they put the whistles, the refs, they put the whistles away to some extent during the tournament and let them play a little bit more. That could be a good thing or a bad thing for Missouri. That could be good in that, well, it could keep Ant Robinson out of foul trouble. It could be bad in that, well, part of Missouri's the deal is getting to the free throw line. So if they're letting him play and Mark Mitchell's getting mugged every possession but not getting calls, well, that could be to Mizzou's detriment. Well, and I didn't look up the referee assignments. I don't even know if they're available. Do you have the announcer assignments? That's on the ticker on the bottom. So that's one just kind of wild card that there's not really much to, I don't know.
Just like any game, you just adjust to how they call the
Yeah,
game and play accordingly.
right. So let's look at these resumes. Missouri the 6, Drake the 11 in the West Regional. And winner plays the winner of Texas Tech and UNC Wilmington. First, Mizzou ought to have the strongest contingent in terms of fans. All right, that should be a no-brainer. As far as the matchup itself, Missouri ranks 16th in the NET. Drake is 56th. All right. Mizzou at 22 and 11, 10 and 8 in SEC play. Then you look at Drake, who went 30 and 3, a gaudy record in the Missouri Valley Conference, 17 and 3. They won the regular season championship. They won the conference tournament, and yeah, they just kind of steamrolled their way through their season for the most part. Um, as far as Mizzou, well, you see on the ticker, I've got the Q1, Q2, and so forth. All of Missouri's losses are quad one games. All right. So by that metric, there are no bad losses on Missouri's resume. You think what you want about the Oklahoma loss specifically. I don't think that was the worst loss in my opinion, but whatever. As far as Drake, only two games that were Q1, four more that were Q2. All their losses were quad three, 11 and 3, and then 11 and 0 in quad four games. So all three losses were Q4 or Q3 rather, excuse me. The best win, they kind of manhandled Vandy on a neutral floor, Charleston, South Carolina, some you know early season tournament. Close game at half, like 3 points, tied, whatever it was, and then they just kind of took it to Vandy in the second half. I watched some film of that, and they just kind of had their way with them. Um, this team from Des Moines, led by David, Coach Ben McCollum, who played and coached at Northwest Missouri State, won multiple national championships.
Yeah, a lot of good coaches come from Missouri State or Northwest Missouri State, excuse me.
Yeah, this is his first season with Drake. And he kind of did what Dennis Gates did and brought a bunch of his guys with him. Four starters for Drake played at Northwest Missouri State. They were on that roster. And that includes the key player for this team. It all begins and ends with Bennett Sturts.
Yeah, and Sturts is 6'4", 180 pounds, averages 19.1 points per game. He he's just a stud, man.
Yeah.
But luckily, we have a very good guard who can probably stick with him based on who he's played in the SEC, and that's Anthony Robinson.
Yeah. Of course, with Robinson, foul trouble, always something to keep an eye on. But yeah, that's going to be a matchup, and perhaps alluding to our keys to the game that we'll talk about in a little bit here. Yeah, Sturt's not coming off the floor in this game unless he gets hurt or if he gets in foul trouble. I would be stunned if he came off the floor for any other reason. Um, they only have Drake, one other guy averaging double figures, and that is Daniel Abreu, 6'6", 220, averages 10.4 points per game. So one guard, one forward, double figures. Everybody else averaging less than 10 a game, but this is a team that is opposite of Missouri. They are not going to run and gun and try to outscore you. That is a grinded out team, so that kind of stands to reason that you're not going to have a bunch of gaudy scoring numbers. Another key player, kind of your biggest post presence for Drake, is Cam Manyawu, 6'8", 228, averaging 7.2 points a game, 5.5 boards per game. So there's your leading rebounder. And he plays less than 20 minutes a game. All right. So this could be a situation where I think it's 18 minutes a game. Josh Gray could just match up with him. It could be one of those where Gates waits for Manyawu to come in there and then reacts and puts Gray in there just to say, all right, you got your biggest post presence leading rebounder in there. Let's see how he deals with Josh Gray, who's got 4 inches and 30 pounds on him.
Or if he's feeling saucy, Marshall.
Oh, I, that'd be real saucy. Uh, oh man, we joked beforehand about Gray and Marshall in there, but in all honesty, that'd be a train wreck. It'd be 4 on 5, where Gray is kind of not a factor offensively, and Marshall's not a factor defensively. Um, you know,
Combined, they make one
it,
player.
it'd be really fun to look at until they started actually playing. Um, but yeah, I do think Gray could match up with Manyawu. I wouldn't be surprised because even though they lack the size, 6'8", 228 being their biggest guy on the entire roster, they're still a good rebounding team. They absolutely destroyed Vanderbilt on the boards. And you look at uh at Vandy, they're not gigantic. What's their guy McGlintock, or I forget his name, I'm blanking. Their post guy. They absolutely abused him. Perhaps his worst game of the year. And he was steady in both games against Missouri. So I think that's a sign that, yeah, this team is legit rebounding. And yeah, you may need Gray to come up big on the boards. So we'll see what happens there. Continuing on with this Drake roster, you look at Mitch Mascari, 6'5", 200 pounds, averaging just under 10 a game. He is averaging 41% from three. All right. And he also 38 and a half minutes a game, probably not coming off the court in this game. And he's there, Caleb Grill. All right. At least from 3-point range. So gotta gotta be aware of where he is at all times. He will yank a shot and 41%. That's same clip as Grill, basically.
Yeah, and with their lineup and their small size, you could see a lineup with Cruz and Pierce out there, Mitchell, just going a little bit smaller on the Mizzou side, just to keep pace with them in the half court, but at the same time, with Pierce out there as well, he could have himself a game because he likes to play like a guard, and if he gets his three going as well, he can shoot right over the top of them. So it's going to be real interesting to see how Mizzou comes at Drake, just because they have the opportunity to throw so many different types of lineups out there. Uh, that who knows what Gates will do. He might mix it up, give him all kinds of looks. Who knows?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. You mentioned Pierce. Part of that will be how he looks if he starts. His game's really fallen off, especially defensively. He may start just to so Grill can kind of be the guy off the bench, keep that routine in place. How much he plays after that may depend on that first 3 minutes of the game. And in this game, Missouri will try to take Drake out of their grinded out, slow paced kind of game, but you have to have defenders who are ready to play defense for 30 seconds. And that's going to be a real challenge for Pierce. So we'll see about that. I mentioned, their grinded out pace. Drake, out of 364 teams in Division One basketball, they are dead last in tempo and possessions per game. They are literally the slowest team in all of college basketball. So that is a big factor, I think, of why a lot of people are talking about it being a bad matchup for Missouri because Missouri's well known for wanting to run and gun. Drake allows 58.4 points per game. That is the best in the country. I don't mean to caveat that, but that number is going to be helped by the fact that they do slow it down. They're very good defensively, make no mistake. The number is helped by the fact that yeah, the opponent's going to have less possessions because Drake just takes the air out of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see what Missouri does in terms of pace and attacking their unique defense, David. They play this pack line defense where it is a man to man, a variation of plain man defense, but they will absolutely pack it in on the interior. And this is part of the reason where, well, Drake might be the ones who have a better gripe about terrible matchup. Pack line defense, to a large extent, is really dependent on your opponent not hitting threes.
Well, and you got one of the best 3 point shooters in the country with Caleb Grill coming to his hometown, and he's going to be fired up. So I expect him just to light it up in Wichita.
I think for him, the key is to not get reckless. There's times where he hits one, and then he thinks as soon as he's across half court, he's in range. And we know he's capable, but there's times he's gotten reckless and just yanked up a shot because, well, I guess I can shoot this instead of it being in the rhythm of the offense. So he needs to play within himself and not just say, I'm at my hometown, I want to drop 30. He's got to play within himself, within the offense. And if he does that, he may well end up dropping 30 because he is capable. If Drake alters this pack line defense, or if shots are falling and they have no choice but to do it, and they kind of space things out a little bit more, make a bigger effort to cover the three, might be Mark Mitchell time. And honestly, I think this is kind of step one from the get-go.
I was going to say it might be Mark Mitchell time from the beginning, just because no matter who he's gone against in the SEC, he's found a way to just bully
Yeah.
anybody he's gone up against. And with nobody who's able to out physical him in this game, I think all you have to do is throw a lob pass to him with his height, because he does have a height advantage down there. Uh, he's at what, 6'10,
He's 6'9".
6'9", 6'10.
Yeah.
So
So Kim and Manyawu is giving up an inch. They're not that big a difference in size.
right.
If that 228 and Mark Mitchell's at 230, if that's accurate, 2 pounds, 1 inch. So if that's the matchup, it may not be a big size difference. I'm curious to see, though, the athleticism difference. if Mark Mitchell gets the ball at the top of the key and he just says, "Everybody get out the way. I'm taking Manyawu one-on-one." What's going to happen there? Because if he can do that and either finish or draw fouls, man, Yahoo getting in foul trouble could be absolutely devastating to Drake.
Well, and if you
We
have
know, we know,
Mitchell,
we know what Mark Mitchell is capable of in terms of drawing fouls, one of the
yeah,
best in the country.
and if you have Mitchell and Gray out there at the same time, now you really do have the height advantage where if Mitchell gets stuck, all he has to do is toss it up and Gray's right there. Now, Gray does have a habit of missing those 2 foot shots, but if he manages to get on a roll, he could also change the outcome of the game. Plus, more importantly, with his height, he can suck up every single rebound out there. So,
Yeah, that goes back to I would match up against Manyawu whenever he's out there. I'd get Gray out there.
well, and
Um,
something to think about with that pack line defense, if they're all collapsing in the paint, all Gray has to do is tap it out, and now you have Grill or Bates out there or whoever who can just
yeah.
pop up a three. So it will be really interesting to see how Gates plays this. And quite honestly, I think it's a huge advantage to Mizzou, even though Drake loves to slow the ball down, because once they start falling behind, do they have enough athleticism and ability to keep up with Mizzou? And if not, they're probably going to end up speeding up their play out of desperation.
Well, and if they are packing it in on the interior, and then there's a rebound, Missouri, that their game is getting the ball down the court quick. There is just an increased chance for Missouri to have a numbers advantage getting down the court based on the nature of their game. Transition basketball is what Missouri tries to do. So Drake, to some extent, what are they going to do if they're playing man and they're all down low? Are they if they crash the boards, they may pay for it dearly in the transition game. So I wonder what that's going to do, and I wonder, do they keep their guards back a little bit to guard against the transition game, and does that open things up to where Missouri can just have a real advantage with rebounding?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
definitely excited for this matchup. I don't think it's going to be the type of game that everyone still remembers with a Norfolk State or something
uh,
like that. I don't think you're going to have that type of haunting. I really don't. I think Mizzou is going to win quite comfortably. So, Eric,
yeah.
before we get into that, what are your keys to this game?
Well, we've talked about three before we start filming. We got three. First one, and we've alluded to pretty much all these. The easiest one I think to get going. Mark Mitchell.
Mm,
Get him the ball. Let him do Mark Mitchell things. Whether that is just bully ball and layup, bully ball and drawing fouls, and he shoots 15 free throws. This is a game where, yes, you have Manyawu out there, but if we talked about it, he only plays 18 minutes a game or so. After that, their their next biggest guy's 6'7". About what? Gosh. You got Daniel Abreu out there at 6'6", 220. Who's going to guard him?
and
This
then
is a
if,
game where Mark Mitchell could have a career high in points.
quite
He could have a
honestly, if
career
he
high in free throw attempts. But
quite honestly, if he gets
make
going,
Drake prove
Pierce.
they can stop Mark Mitchell.
Quite honestly, if he gets going, Pierce will be a threat to you just because of his height.
Yeah. Well, if Mark Mitchell's dominating everything, becomes more open because they're going to have no choice but to double him.
True.
You know, I think that's step one. Make Drake prove that they can control Mitchell. If they can, all right, he kicks it out. And David, a grill, of course, but Tamar Bates. We haven't talked about him yet. Tamar Bates was more aggressive in the SEC tournament. makes you feel a little bit better about his play down the stretch in the regular season, that maybe he was sick and just had a flu bug. Maybe he got it from Josh Gray. You remember he missed the Arkansas game with an illness. And there was some rumblings. Maybe there was just a sickness, a flu bug or whatever, going through the locker room. And maybe that's why Bates, excuse me, was not as aggressive and assertive and effective because he looked more like himself and he was forcing the issue when it needed to be forced, specifically against Florida. So if Tamar Bates is playing that kind of game, and if he goes for honestly more than about 12 points, that's huge. I think you need two guys who are shooting the three well. That's the key. I'm being long-winded, I know it. Hit your threes. Sounds very simple, but if they are hitting at a representative clip, if they hit 8 or 9 threes, Drake's in trouble.
And then last
And
but not least, for our keys of the game, I would argue possibly one of the biggest ones, even though it's third, is Anthony Robinson staying out of foul trouble.
yeah,
Because he has elite defense and he can shut down anybody as long as he's on the court. But if he starts doing those stupid little hand check foul calls, and some of
yeah.
this will depend on how the refs are calling the game too, uh, could go a long way to let Mizzou run away with this one if he can stay on the floor.
Well, and we haven't talked about Drake's turnover game. They are prone to turnovers. They are 124th, I believe, 122nd, 124th in the country in turnovers per game. All right. Not a great number, but not terrible. However, remember they have the fewest possessions per game. In terms of their turnover percentage, oh, I saw it online. It's like 270 something. They turn the ball over at a pretty hefty clip. This game, if he can stay out of trouble, Anthony Robinson have a day defensively.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's
Now,
roll into predictions here. You got something else?
no, I was about to say
Okay,
that.
cool. Yeah, predictions. Drake is very good. They are fundamentally sound. They are capable of beating good teams. I was kind of taken aback at how they just handled Vandy when I watched the film on that. They have not played a team with the athletic ability of Missouri. Missouri, well, the thought was, oh, Missouri got a bad draw with the matchup and everything. I think Drake is in bigger trouble with the matchup problem. Their defense is predicated on not giving up threes. And they got matched up with a team that has a coach with a stated goal of shooting the most threes of anybody in America. They are an undersized team. They got Mark Mitchell, who is third team All SEC. They are not a deep team. Mark Mitchell is elite at drawing fouls. They are not a big team. As I said, Josh Gray, 7 foot 260, super rebounding the basketball for all his other shortcomings. He's great at rebounding. And then you have an all SEC defender to try and maybe not shut down, but at least slow down Bennett Sturts. Because if Bennett Sturts goes for like 14 or something, Drake can't win. He has to go for his normal 20 or more. All of that to say, Missouri wins, kind of keeps Drake at arm's length. Some free throws at the end to ice the thing. Missouri wins 81-71.
Yeah, not to be as long winded. Uh, I have Mizzou winning 80, 80. What was it, 83 to 65.
Yeah.
Flat out, Mizzou's 11 or 12 deep. Even if they get into foul trouble, I think they're just going to out athlete Drake. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to do all the things. Um, Gates is going to have them ready to go. I think Grill is going to have a huge game, especially at home in front of his fans. I think Mizzou is going to put everybody on notice that they're not a team to be messed with in the tournament. So that's my thought on that. I don't think Drake will be able to hang with them. I think Mizzou is going to show they still haven't supposedly played at their peak. If they come out like they did against like Alabama, they're going to run away with it. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if Missouri's offense is shooting 40% from three, Drake can't win.
yeah, and
Power
hopefully,
Mizzou said it, Gabe DeArmond said it, and I agree. I think you do too. If Mizzou plays a B game or better, Drake can't win.
yeah, absolutely. So, hopefully, we get to do another one of these for round two.
Yeah.
But until then, everybody, it's dance time. Let's enjoy the show. Thank you for watching Under the Earth Sports.